Hi, I'm Richard Epcar. You might know me as Raiden from Mortal Kombat. Thunder, take you, or the Joker. Welcome to Fandom Squad Podcast.
Hey everyone, this is going to be another episode of the Phantom Squad podcast. I have a special co-host this week, my best friend Ryan. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on?
Doing good. Thank you for being here. I know you're happy to be our special guest. Before I spoil it, awesome guest this week, Mr. Richard Epcar. How's it
Hi.
going, man?
That's going great. How you guys doing?
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, the first thing I wanted to ask you, I know a lot of people who start in voiceover, they get started regular acting. Did you start acting, or did you just do voiceover alone?
No, I am an actor, and I came to Los Angeles to do on-camera work, and I did quite a bit of that, actually. I did a lot of soaps and TV shows and that sort of thing. And it's actually my wife got me into the voice business. We were working on a project, and then she was doing a movie for this company, and they had another movie that they didn't like the voices of some of the actors in the movie, so they wanted to replace their voices. So they had auditions, and she said, could my boyfriend come with me to the audition? They said, sure. So I went in there, and the guy said, have you done this before? I said, oh yeah, I've done it a million times. I never did it before in my life. And I went in there and I did it, and I nailed it. And I think part of the reason I nailed it was because I'm also a drummer, along being an actor. So
cool.
there's a certain rhythm to this stuff when you dub and you have to lip sync. There's a rhythm to it. So I took to it like a duck to water, and they really liked me and cast me in the lead of that thing. And then I got a bunch of more jobs from that. And from that, I went to a show called Robotech, which was an anime that was on national network television and blew up. And then from that, I've not stopped doing voice work for 40 some years now. So it's just been crazy. And I've done over 1,200 characters in games and animation and anime. So it's pretty nuts.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, I know you and Rob Paulson are kind of got the same way. You both did the ADR and then got into voiceover. You both are got these massive catalogs. And I was showing a buddy at work, and they were like, "Yeah," they're like, "What all has he done?" I'm like, "Well, a lot of people know him as Raiden from Mortal Kombat, but he's done all this anime." And they're like, "Wow, over like 1,200 credits. It's crazy."
Yeah, it is crazy. Rob's a great guy. I love Rob. He is one of the nicest men in show business.
Yes, we're working on. I'm talking to his PR agent Lori right now as well. So
Yeah, okay,
hopefully
cool.
to get him, because he's just like you. He's a childhood voice hero of ours.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. No, Rob's a great guy. He's a wonderful guy.
So from there, from like your first animes and stuff, how did how did that role go in from getting in, the anime roles into turning into video games? Because I know the video game voiceover is a lot different than, the regular animation voiceover.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, it's all acting basically, and it just depends on the style of whatever it is you're doing. There's games that are, they're very different, and it just depends on if they want it more naturalistic, if they want it more presentational, over the top. It just depends on what it is. So if you're an actor, you're a good actor, you just jump in and you do your thing. I did a lot of anime and voice replacement stuff on a lot of films. I also wrote and directed a lot of ADR for Academy Award winning foreign films. I did a lot of that stuff, and then I got into directing a lot of anime and doing a lot of that stuff. And then eventually I broke through to the video game world, and I've just been doing tons and tons and tons of video games now, which is great. I really enjoy that because, first of all, you're not most of the time you're not lip syncing. You're creating a character, and you go in and you do the character, and then they animate it to your voice tracks. Whereas when you're dubbing, you're trying to match the lip flaps on the character that's already drawn, or is it live action? You're trying to match their lip flaps. It's a much different style of acting, and it's obviously it's a lot freer when you can just create the character and not worry about that other stuff.
Awesome. Now, can you tell us that experience for people who don't know, who know, like, the process of overdubbing? Can you explain like how that works? Like from like it's like a normal reading a script versus, overdubbing something, how I know there's a difference with like the beep sounds to do. Can you explain that process for people who don't know the behind the scenes of how that works?
Well, it's for example, every movie has ADR to it, which is automated dialogue replacement. That's what ADR stands for. And whether it's even English American movies, you have to ADR some stuff. Sometimes they'll shoot a scene in a field, and maybe a plane will fly over some, and it's a western, so you can't have that. So you have to have them come back and redo your lines. Now, a lot of times they call that looping. A lot of times when they go in, they'll just redo their lines that's in the script. But when you're doing foreign films, obviously English is not going to match what they're saying, but you have to say the gist of what they're saying in the other language, and it has to look like they're speaking English. So that has to be adapted. And what they do, they take that dialogue and they try to give it the gist of what the actor is actually saying in his own language, but they're going to make it look like it fits in his mouth in English. So we go in there and we read voice those characters. And you mentioned the beeps. When I started out in this business, there were no beeps, there were no Pro Tools, there were none of that stuff. We basically, I call it combat dubbing. We had to go in there and you'd see a time code, and then you'd have to try to grab the line as people were doing it. So so it's a lot of fun. And I just actually did this big project. I have this 3 picture deal with Netflix where I do the lead in these 3 movies with this guy. They're Turkish films, and they're kind of action movies, and it's pretty cool. The first one is called 10 Days of a Good Man, and it's on Netflix right now. The one we just finished working on was 10 Days of a Bad Man, and then I don't know what the third one's called, 10 Days of a Mediocre Man or something. I don't know what the third one's called, but it's a series of 3 films, and they're really cool films and a lot of fun. So I'm revoicing the lead guy because he's speaking Turkish. So
For a lot of your work, do you naturally just use your natural voice, or do you do like do impressions of certain people? Because I know a lot of times a lot of voice people, they take different people of voices and kind of make this own voice, or do you kind of use your more natural voice for your roles that you have?
well, it depends on what I'm doing. It depends on what I'm doing. If it's like, for example, this one character that I just did, he is he's kind of in my ballpark as far as his voice, so I just use my regular voice. But yeah, it depends on the character. I mean, obviously, if I'm doing the Joker or one of those characters, I'm not going to use my regular voice. He's going to be a completely different sound. And it just depends on who the character is. Now, a lot of times we go in, and if they can show me a picture of the character, that helps a lot. Then I can come up with a voice for that character. If they don't have a picture, then a lot of times they have a description of the character in the script. So you look at that and you try to imagine what that guy would sound like. And then, hopefully you have a director that's a good director that'll work with you and try to help you find the voice that's right for that character. But yeah, when I first started out, most of the characters I did were my regular voice, and I did a lot of hero characters, I did a lot of villains, that sort of thing. Now I'm very happy and fortunate that I get to do a variety of characters, and I'm not limited at all to my normal voice, and I can play all kinds of different characters, and so it's really a lot of fun. I enjoy being able to be creative and do all kinds of come up with all kinds of different voices. So that's fun too.
Especially having that music background. I don't know if you have any characters that sing, because I know a lot of times they're like, hey, if you can do voices and you're a musician, a lot of times if you can sing as that character, that's a bonus for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had to do that on a few occasions, and the one that comes to mind right now is the character in Digimon, Edamon, who was the Elvis character. I don't know if you remember Digimon, but he was an
Yes.
Elvis character, and he sang, and he was just a lot of fun, and I had a ball playing him. He was really fun. I also did my Otismon in that as well, but Edamon was a lot of fun because I got to sing, and it was really fun. And I've been in a lot of bands, and that sort of thing. So I always get to sing and do rock and roll and that sort of thing. So I enjoy that a lot.
Awesome. Now, can you tell us the difference? Because I know you said you were a voice director too. Can you tell us, like, to tell the audience, like, sort of that, being an actor versus like a voice director, and like what the different roles are, especially for a director for that side of things? Because I know a lot of people get a voice
Well,
director and a regular director confused a lot.
well, the voice director is the one who's directing the sessions when you go in and do voice work. And basically, a director in any situation is kind of we'll call him the puzzle master. He kind of puts the puzzle together, puts all the pieces together so that it fits in a cohesive way and it works. It works, from the plot. Uh, the actor is just one of those puzzle pieces. So the actor comes in, he plays his part, but the director, a good director directs you and gives you the context of what's going on in the scene. A lot of times we go in all of the games and in all of the anime that we do not see the scripts ahead of time. We only see the scripts when we go into the booth. So you have to basically what we call cold read a performance when you do that. And hopefully you have a good director who can kind of give you the context of what's happening in the scene, so you know what's going on, so you know how to play the lines. But the director is basically has control of the project, and he oversees the project, where the actor's one piece of the project. So that's basically the difference. They're both very creative jobs, and I love doing them both. And there's times where I'm directing for a long period of time and I really miss performing, and then there's times where I'm only performing and I really miss directing. So I've been really lucky. I've been able to do both, and I do writing as well. So I've been doing a lot of stuff, and I'm always working and always busy.
That is so cool. Now, do a lot of people do they like it that you are a voice actor when they come in doing when you're directing them? Is it a better dynamic being a voice actor yourself as a director, or is it kind of vice versa, depending on if they like the director to be a voice actor themselves or not?
Well, I don't think it's absolutely essential that a director be an actor, but I think it really helps a director to be an actor, because the director then knows what the actor is going through, what they're experiencing, what their situation is, and the director can communicate with the actor as an actor. So he knows what words to say. Essentially, he can communicate, I think, a little more efficiently with an actor, because he's been in that same position and he knows what he can say to get what he needs out of that actor. So I think it's definitely a big advantage to have a director who is an actor also. But like I say, it's not essential. Steven Spielberg's not an actor, but he's a great director. So it depends. You can still be a great director and not be an actor. But I think honestly, it's helpful. I think it's really helpful, to be able to do both.
Yes, for sure. Now, do you have a question? Do you have anything that you come up with for a question?
I've just been kind of enjoying just sitting here and just learning off of him and hearing what he's got to say about me.
Yeah, he like I said, I'm usually the host. This is his first episode co-hosting, so I was like, I'll take the roads. If you got a question, just let me know and you can just butt in.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Now, I will say, because this is regarding some video game news, I know that there was a leak. Well, it wasn't really even a leak. It was just somebody over at Warner Brothers talking about their list of things that was coming out later on. I just wanted to see if I know you probably have a non-disclosure agreement going on, but can you confirm whether or not you are working on anything with Warner Brothers?
No, I can't confirm anything
Gotcha.
about Warner Brothers.
No
I can't say anything about that, unfortunately. But
oh no, you're fine. Like I said, if you can't say, then you can't say. So
yeah, I can't say it, and they are very, very touchy about that stuff. So I really can't say anything about that.
I figured they would be. So
yeah, well, more so than some, but
right.
But anyway, it's fine. It's their deal. But yeah, I don't really honestly know anything that's going on right now with that, so I can't really comment on it. And even if I did know something, I couldn't really comment on it anyway. So, there you go.
So with your different characters, I know you said you come up with the ones on the spot when you see art. So what was your approach? You said you voiced the Joker in the new games
Yeah.
as well. How did you, because I know every person who's done the Joker has a different take or how they came about. What was your approach to, take a new take on this iconic character who's done, to make it different from, Mark Hamill and Jack Nicholson, to make it your own? What was your process of making this your own Joker?
That actually was a question I was going to ask as well.
I get asked that a lot, and it's an interesting question, because I know the Joker is just a super popular character. The way that whole thing came about was I got a call one day from Richard Epcar, who was the casting director for Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. And that was about 15 years ago. So I've been playing those characters for 15 years now. She brought me in, and they had Warner Brothers on the horn. They had NetherRealm Studio on the horn, who produces all of the Mortal Kombat and Injustice games. And then they had DC Comics on the horn. And she basically said to me, Richard, they want you to audition for all of the DC characters, and they want you to audition for all of the Mortal Kombat characters. So I said, great. And I got to say, it was one of the most fun auditions I've ever had in my life, because it was like being a kid in a candy store. I got to, play Superman and Batman, all these crazy characters. And then I did Raiden, and I really liked Raiden a lot. I thought he was a great character. And then when they asked me to do the Joker, this voice just came out of me in this laugh. And I honestly don't know where it came from, because I never tried to do the Joker. I never tried to do anything about the Joker. And it just, this voice came out and the laugh came out, and they loved it. So the first one I did, it was kind of funny, because everyone accused me of trying to sound like Mark Hamill. And I know Mark's done it for a long time, and he's very, very popular as the Joker, and people love him. And I got somebody online and saying, you're trying to sound like Mark Hamill. I said, well, thank you for the compliment, because I perceive that as a compliment. I said, but honestly, to this day, and this is still true, I have not heard Mark's Joker. I've never heard Mark Hamill's Joker. So when I wrote that back online, Mark Hamill came on and said, well, I've heard yours, and I think it's great. So I thought that was really, really sweet of him, and really nice of him to do that.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah, he certainly didn't have to do that. He's a really good guy. And I did one other movie with him. It was a Robotech movie we did called Shadow Chronicles, and he was in that, and I co-directed that and played the lead character in that, Captain Vince Grant. But anyway, getting back to Joker, so that voice just came out of me, and then I purposefully did not want to hear anybody else's Joker. I did not want to be influenced. And honestly, when you're playing a character as an actor, you're not trying to play an actor playing a character. You're playing that character. So, if you were, and I absolutely hate it, commercials do this a lot. We want you to sound like so-and-so. I always feel like saying, well, why don't you hire so-and-so, because I'm going to do it the way I'm going to do it. And if you like the way I'm going to do it, hire me. Otherwise, hire the guy that you like, that you want it to sound like, because I'm not going to do an impersonation of another actor doing a character. You know what I mean? I just, to me, that's like the worst acting ever, So anyway, I don't like doing those kinds of jobs, and I usually turn them down. But anyway, I don't know how I came to that voice. It just came to me, and I feel like he's gotten better over the years. And I thought in Mortal Kombat 11, he really, really came together and was just terrific. And I just feel like I'm really solid on him now, and I would love to do more of him. I'd love to do a series with me doing the Joker. That would be great. But who knows? Who knows? It's a crazy business, and a lot of times it's a crapshoot. You know what I mean? So I've been very, very fortunate over the years. I've been working nonstop, and a lot of actors and directors can't say that. So I'm one of the lucky ones. So I'm very lucky and very thankful and grateful for all of the work and the characters I've been able to play. It's been my pleasure and my joy.
That is amazing. Now, when you got, when they called you in to do the games and stuff, did you already know about, the fan base of the games, the impact or the how popular these characters were before you voiced them? Or
I had no idea. And this is another crazy, this is another one that I replaced somebody on. It was Kingdom Hearts. And the original Kingdom Hearts had Billy Zane in the first one. He played Ansem. Well, the way they hired me to play Ansem. Now this is funny because I've done over 1,200 characters. Well, I can count the time on one hand of the times I've been hired without auditioning. So all those 1,200 characters, I had to audition for all those characters pretty much. So anyway, I was hired to play Ansem without an audition. And the reason for that was that the guy who plays after Billy Zane, for whatever reason, wasn't going to do another one. The guy who plays Bateau in Ghost in the Shell in Japan does the voice of Ansem in Kingdom Hearts. So the producers, the Japanese producers, asked the Disney producers, who does the voice of Bateau in America? And they said Richard Epcar. So they cast me, basically. And I'll tell you a quick funny story about that. So I went in to do the second game, and there was 6 Japanese producers in the booth and 6 producers from Disney. And every time I would do a line, the engineer would come on the talkback and go, "Just a minute." And then they would all talk amongst themselves for 5 minutes, and they'd come back and say, "Can you do that a little faster?" So I did the line a little faster. They go, "Just a minute." And they would talk amongst themselves for 5 minutes and come back on the line and say, "Can you do that a little slower?" And this went on all day long, and I was like ready to jump off a cliff. And finally we had a break, and I pulled the engineer aside. I said, "How did Christopher Lee put up with that?" He said, "Oh, they did it to him once." And he said, "All right, I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this. I'm going to read this script from the top to the bottom, and then I'm going home." And I thought that was hilarious and brilliant, and I wish I could have done that. Now I've done 8 of them, so they leave me alone finally. But it was kind of funny. So anyway, to your point, I was at a convention in Chicago, and what happened was, I'm going to get my phone out too because I want to plug some of these conventions I'm going to be going to.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sure. Do that. We definitely want to promote that. If you have links, we'll put them in the show notes too.
Yeah, absolutely, I do. But anyway, I was at this convention in Chicago, and I knew I'd done Ansem, and I know that people, like Kingdom Hearts. I had no idea it was that big, but anyway, this young lady comes up to me and she said, "Would you pop in and say hi to my panel?" I said, "Well, what's your panel?" She said, "We're doing a Kingdom Hearts panel at midnight." I said, "At midnight?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'll probably be asleep by then, but," I said, "if I'm awake, give me the information." So anyway, I went back to my room, and I was laying in bed, and I looked over at the clock, and I was wide awake, and it was midnight. So I called my handler up. I said, "Can you get me to this panel? They just want me to pop in and say hi." She said, "Sure." I expect there'd be like 10, 15 people. I go in there. There must have been 1,000 people crammed into this room. And when they announced me, that they were like screaming like the Beatles had just walked in the room. And I was going, "What the hell?" It was like so bizarre. And then I said one line from the game or something, and then they went nuts for, just applauding and screaming. It was unbelievable. And then they all wanted me to sign autographs. So it took me like 2 hours to get out of the room because I'm signing everybody's, program and everything. And I had no idea. It was so funny. And the handler was like, even she was like blown away by the whole thing. But it was, I mean, that's when it kind of dawned on me, wow, these things really are popular, aren't they? So that was kind of fun. But yeah, I'm in so many games now. It's crazy. I'm in so many franchises, and it's great. I love being part of a lot of these things. It's
And
just
now
great.
with that, with that interaction, I know a lot of times because these people spend so much time with these characters and how evolved they get in their lives. Have you had any, at these conventions, people come up to you and like tell you like your character, Mortal Kombat or your character in Final Fantasy, they or Kingdom Hearts, they how it impacted their life in a way that you didn't expect from just voicing this character?
Well, I still have people coming up to me about Robotech saying that they joined the military because of Robotech, which is interesting. And then I do have a lot of people that come up to me, and I can't remember the specific shows, but they do say, I was going through a real rough period, and the only thing that helped me make it through was this show and your character, and that makes you feel good. You feel like, wow, I'm doing more than just voicing cartoons. I'm impacting people's lives and helping people on a certain level. So I mean, you're entertaining people, but sometimes people are, they need something, and they can find that that help through, you know, a show you've done, and that makes you feel great. You feel like, wow, I'm doing something, you know, beneficial for somebody, you know. So that's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
nice.
And
Yeah.
it's one of those things like it's when I interviewed H. John Benjamin of Bob's Burgers, and it's one of my comfort shows, me and my wife, and it was one of those, getting to talk to him. It was, that's like the show is like, oh, you helped me fall asleep at night. Your voice, I hear it all the time. And getting to talk to him was just great. This is why I do bring guys like you on and people, voice actors on this show to,
Yeah.
everybody knows your
Yeah.
characters, but get to know you and get to know you guys as, just as people and not just these characters, and show that,
Well,
you care about the fans.
some people can't differentiate between you and your characters, which is kind of interesting. You know, it's a little scary too when you think that. It's like, you know, they are cartoons, you know, it's
Oh yeah, all I can think
but
about
yeah,
is like death threats being sent to some people because of their characters, and it's just like,
yeah, that's crazy.
take it down
Oh,
just a notch,
yeah.
like Laura
Well,
Bailey for The Last of Us 2 got death threats. And I don't know. It's like you said, people need to learn how to separate the character from the voice actor, art
yeah,
from the
yeah.
artist in some cases.
Yeah, we go in and we read a script, so it's not we're not making up these, you know, these characters. We're not making up the dialogue, so we're interpreting these scripts. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that people get so attached to it, but some people can't, like I say, can't differentiate between us and the characters. It's funny you mentioned H. John Benjamin. I was just at a convention this last weekend, and they had an entire cosplay group who dressed up as Bob's Burgers, and I took a picture. If you look on my page, you'll see that picture with me
Yes,
with
I
those
seen
guys,
that
and
earlier.
they look great. Yeah, so that was really fun. But yeah, it's you know, he's great. I love his work, and he's a lot of fun. He's but interestingly enough, he pretty much uses his same voice in everything he does, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
we talked about in the conversation about the joke that he made on Family Guy, where he's doing stand up as the character they have him doing, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Archer from Archer, and I'm Bob from Bob," and it's like, yeah, I actually, he's like, yeah, I made that joke to them, and then they're like, hey, we can actually animate that and put it in the show.
It's
yeah.
just Archer is H. John Benjamin, but he's got swagger, and then Bob is H. John Benjamin, but he's really depressed, pretty much.
I love when they did the crossover. Did you see that when Archer wakes
Yes.
up and he's at Barb's Burgers and they have all the characters there? I thought that was incredible. I love that crossover.
Oh yeah, and he's one
So
of the ones that,
I'm a huge Archer fan. As you can see, I'm a big James Bond fan. So I
Oh
love
yeah.
yes.
anything with spies and that kind of stuff. In fact, I'm writing a book right now that's a spy thriller, and I'll be done with it in a month or two, and I'll be promoting that pretty soon too.
Yeah, let me
But
know when you're ready to promote. Then, like I said, every guest is always welcome back. If you want to come on and promote the book, I
oh,
definitely have you come back on and
that'd be
promote it.
awesome. Yeah, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. They've already stole my title. You're not going to believe this. The name of my book was No Time to Die, and the Bond franchise stole my title, even though I'd had that title for years before. They still stole my title, those rats. So now I can't use that title anymore.
Oh man.
But it just shows you how plugged I am, and I'm so plugged into that franchise that I came up with the title of their movie.
Now, one thing I want to ask you too, I know since you started, 15 years ago doing some of these characters, and you started voiceover way before that. What is your
Yeah.
experience? Have you always done like solo recordings, or did you also do some of the group recordings as well? Because I know some actors I've talked to have only done single, and some have done both with groups and single by themselves.
No, I've done both and I've directed both, and you know, it's really fun when you can do it's more rare to do the group recordings. Those are the old-fashioned ways of doing it, and the old-time cartoons, I used to do it that way. And it's more like a radio show, you know, and you have everybody there. What's nice is you get to react off of everybody else during their voices and all that. So that's wonderful to be able to do that. We did Legend of Korra. We recorded it like that. We had everybody in the booth and recorded it like that, and it was just a real joy to work like that. Um, Unfortunately, because everybody's so busy now, it's really hard to get everybody together at the same time. So even the original animation stuff, they record sometimes just one person at a time in the booth. So, you know, and then they put it together, and when they put it together, it sounds, you know, if the director and the actor have done their job, it sounds pretty seamless. It sounds like they're talking, to the other character and all that stuff. And it's incredible when, you know, when you think about it, because, you know, everything's recorded separately and then it's pieced together and it sounds seamless. So it's kind of nice.
So with, you know, doing the group ones that you've done before, do you have any stories of like any like celebrities or any like famous people that you did a voice? I know Robbie has a story about meeting Little Richard on a Animaniacs episode. Do
Oh,
you have
that's cool.
any stories
Yeah,
of like people like that?
I met a I met a lot of, in Legend of Korra, we had a lot of people. We had like Faustino, we had Janet Varney, Mindy Sterling, who's a doll. She's an absolute doll. And the guy that kind of, you know, usually I don't get you know, fanboyish, you know, but Stephen Root was guest starring that episode, and I just a huge fan of his work. He's an incredible actor and a wonderful voice actor. And I just really, you know, I kind of gushed on him a little bit, but you know, I think he appreciated it and he was happy. But yeah, I usually don't do that. I've had to direct a bunch of people for an original animated film called The Reef, and we had a lot of big stars. We had Freddie Prinze Jr. We had what's his name, Jonathan Rhys Davies. We had Evan Rachel Wood. We had Fran Drescher, who tried to rewrite the entire script, which was interesting. She's now our president of Screen Actors Guild. But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
she wanted to rewrite the entire script, and it was kind of funny because the guy who wrote the script was sitting next to me, and he was not happy at all. But anyway, I got to direct a lot of those guys. Early Army, whatever his name was, the guy who was the Full Metal Jacket was one of the guys. He was great. God, who else do we have? We had so many wonderful actors in this thing. It was just great. A lot of great, and I voiced something in it too. I play a character named Mo, who was a lot of fun, and that was a crazy show. It was just crazy. We had a crazy studio head guy who basically didn't want to let the company who was doing the project, he didn't want to let them put the project together. He kept telling me, I'm doing them a favor. And I'm thinking, well, you're not doing them a favor if they can't have a project after they get through recording all this stuff. So I had to basically bribe the engineer to go in there and watch all the stuff down and kind of cut it together. So we had a story. And the other thing is they recorded everything. This is kind of silly, I'm even mentioning this stuff, but they recorded everything wild. So I had to kind of go search through everything to try to piece it together. They were supposed to do it on a grid. When we record in groups like that, you're supposed to record on a grid so you can find everything and you can piece it together easily. Well, they recorded everything wild. We had like 5 or 6 different engineers on that project, and it went on for many days. And so I was like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You know, you go down the script, but we got to find this line. Where's this line? You go through the whole thing and try to find the line, and you put that. It's kind of like building Legos, you know? So anyway, I was able to put the thing together, but oh my God, it was a nightmare. That whole thing was crazy, but it came out really well. I'm very proud of that project.
That's amazing. Now, one thing that I always ask every voice actor, because he's a big inspiration of mine, and I always ask if you have any stories with him. Have you worked with Frank Welker? Because I know he doesn't do a lot of these interviews, and I'm trying to get him. Have you worked with Frank, or do you have any stories of working with Frank?
I have never worked with Frank Welker, unfortunately. I know he's a lovely guy. He's a very super successful voice actor. He's done a ton of stuff. I know he basically can call his own shots at this point and does whatever the hell he wants to do, which is great. And I'm getting closer to that myself. I have worked with Peter Cullen. I mean, I have met Peter Cullen and had drinks with him, and he's a wonderful, lovely guy. So I've worked with Optimus, but not Megatron. So one of these days maybe we'll get in there. He's probably going to retire at some point soon. Who knows? But
I know I was talking with Mindy Cohen a couple years back, and she was talking about how she first heard him when she walked in the booth and seen him do the animal and different noises when they were doing Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And she was like, she's like, if you ever want to know what it was like, and what she's like, from her, she's like, if you ever want to seeing like what people saw Mel Blanc do back in the day, Frank was doing for them in the modern age.
Yeah, yeah. He and that's a whole other specialty. And he and D. Bradley Baker are the two people that come to mind that do those incredible animal sounds. And honestly, I think it's wonderful. They're incredible at it. It's not my thing. It's not my forte. I don't even really want to pursue it. I don't care about it, to be honest with you. I care more about meaty dialogue and acting and that sort of thing. But they and I believe me, I'm not saying that as a put down at all. They're incredible at what they do, and they're very creative and wonderful. And it's just not my thing at all. But yeah, they're great. And I'll get some auditions sometimes. They'll say, we want you to come up with some voices for aliens and make up your own language and all that crap. And it's just like, I just it just doesn't excite me in the least. It's just not my thing at all. I just don't do that stuff. So I kind of turn that stuff down. But
I think that you have a very unique voice as well.
oh,
I think,
thank you. Thank you.
I really do. And I think that's like one of my favorite things is like whenever I am playing a video game or something, I can instantly recognize you. So, I mean, I personally don't think that you would even have to pursue something like that, because like I was playing Skyrim recently and I was like, oh, there's
God.
Richard Epcar talking to me right there.
Yes. I'm 30 different characters in Skyrim.
Oh, yeah. Because I heard you quite a few times.
Yeah. And I'm actually one of the guys that said, I used to be an adventurer like you took
Right.
it until I took an arrow to the knee. So I'm one of those guys. But, what's funny about Skyrim is when they hired me to do that, because as I was saying, most of the characters I've done over the years have been heroes or villains. They cast me to play all the cowards, which was really fun. I mean, I play all of these simpling, cowardly, horrible people, and it was a blast because it was so different than just about anything I've really done in the past. So it was just really fun to play those kinds of characters who are just like really simper, all the time, and whiny, and it was great fun. I really loved it. We went they have the big convention here. I'm trying to remember what, E3, is that what it's called? The big game convention here in LA. And we went there and we were having lunch. And this is after I had like a week or two on Skyrim recording a bazillion different characters. And we're eating lunch and I'm looking up at this thing next to us. There's 3 giant buildings, and across the 3 giant buildings is this giant billboard, and it's got this guy with a shield and a sword. And I thought, oh, this is going to be some Spartan movie or something like that. And then I look up and I said, oh crap, it's Skyrim. I had no friggin' idea this thing was as huge as it was. I had no idea. And that's another just ginormous game that just blew up and went crazy. So
oh yeah, there's still I think they're still putting it out on other consoles because it's still successful, still making a lot of money.
I've got to do I don't have anything for Skyrim when I go to conventions. I should get something together with a few of my more popular characters on there. But that was a crazy, it was a lot of fun to record that. We had a blast doing it. So really fun.
Do you have a lot of people that bring you at conventions, bring you fan art or fan mail, or of like
Yes.
merchandise? They're like, "Hey, I made this for you." Do you
They
take a lot
do.
of that with you?
Unfortunately, they want to keep it, all those bastards. So they'll just have me sign it and then they'll take it away from me. Why? Some of the nice ones, they'll do duplicates for me and let me keep it. So that's nice. I've had over the years, I've had a lot of people do really cool artwork and just incredible stuff. I had one girl do like a 5-foot tall bateau that she made a 5-foot tall doll of bateau, which was it was insane. I had no way of bringing that back with me, unfortunately, but it was very sweet. I mean, people really do really sweet things, and they're really, like I say, they're very moved or impacted by your character, and they want to give back to you, and I think that's very sweet, and I enjoy that a lot. Yeah.
It is awesome. Now, do you get a lot of the promotional stuff too from the companies, like when the new games come out, or?
Sometimes not as much as you would think, to be honest with you. Every once in a while, there was a thing that was going on for a while, and they've stopped doing it. I don't know if everybody blames COVID for everything, but you know, maybe it is COVID, I don't know, but they used to give us a copy of the game at the end. Some of them, not all of them, but you know, maybe I don't know, let's say 2 out of 10 of the companies would do that. And it was nice. Or, you know, every once in a while you get a t-shirt or something like that, which is kind of cool. But it doesn't happen very often. I think we got some swag from Cora. I can't remember what it was, but we got some stuff from them. And it's, you know, it's always fun. Listen, a coffee mug or something, you know, it's always, because it's a nice reminder of your time on the show. And I think it's really nice when people do that kind of stuff. When I did a movie, I did a movie called Memoirs of an Invisible Man that was on camera with Chevy Chase and Daryl Hannah and
Oh,
Sam
awesome.
Neill. They gave us jackets with the logo on the back, and they gave us mugs, and they gave us a briefcase with the logo on it, and that was very cool. And I just, you know, obviously that's a, you know, big major motion picture. That's a little different thing, but you know, the games rarely give you stuff, which is kind of sad. But I've done a couple of interviews and articles for some magazines. I did one for the Joker for the what are they called? Is it Showtime? They did make the figures. You know what I'm talking about?
Is it
called
the Hot
Showtime?
Toys?
No, it's called something with show in it, like Showtime or
Sideshow?
and is it Sideshow?
Could be
Sideshow that
maybe.
make the figures? Yeah, maybe it is
The
Sideshow.
12-inch or
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of larger. It might be
yeah,
Sideshow.
yeah. I think it was Sideshow. So they have a magazine that they put out, and I did a thing of the Joker for them, and they sent me. It's about the thing must be about 2-3 feet tall of the Joker, which I thought was really cool, and I've got it in my office here. It's really cool. Let me see if I can bring him over here real quick so you can just see him. So here he is.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, I think that is a Sideshow right there.
See how big he is.
Whoa, that is
He's
cool.
really big. So that's pretty cool. And then they gave me. He's got 2 heads, one with a hat, one without a hat. And then you know, I've got a bunch of toys over the years, and it's just fun. Here, I'll show you. This is something a fan sent to me. This is Ansem.
Oh, wow.
This is Ansem, and this guy made this for me.
Oh, wow. Holy crap.
That is
So
impressive.
so he put this all together and sent it to me, which I thought was pretty amazing. That was pretty cool. I thought I like that kind of stuff. That was really neat.
Wow, that is
That's
awesome.
Crazy.
I've got a ton of I've got Joseph Joestar, I've got Bobobo, I've got Bateaus, I've got Jigans, I've got just a bunch of I got Raidens, I got a bunch of Raiden stuff. I just you know, a bunch of stuff that you know, that I've collected over the years that my wife hates and wants me to get rid of all the time. But
Yeah, we're
I,
both collectors, so we totally understand that.
I was actually rearranging
yeah,
the little combat shelf last
she's
night.
already made one big sweep. Huh?
Oh, I was just saying, I was
She's
actually
already made one big sweep in my office.
I was rearranging
You were
my
saying
shelf
what?
yesterday, and my fiance is just like, "Would you come back over here?" Just I got one of the newer Liu Kang figures in yesterday, so I was rearranging my entire Mortal Kombat shelf, and
Nice.
she's just looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, this is what you spend your money on?
Yeah, they don't get it. Oh, believe me, it's gonna get worse when you get married. Believe me.
Oh yeah.
But see, and my fiance, she's into the pops, and I'm into, like, me and him are into the expensive figures, and she's like, "Wait a minute, you just spent like $50 on a figure." I'm like, "Hey, you can't say anything. You just bought like 13 different pops." It's the same
she likes
amount,
the
even though
Funko
I got
Pops?
2 figures. Yeah, she's a big Funko Popper.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me to bring those, and there's a lot of them of Raiden and the Joker, obviously, and a few of the other characters, Bato, and but it's you know, it's hard because we travel to these conventions and you got to bring so much crap with you to begin with, you know, so it's just hard to schlep all the Funko Pops. They take up a lot of room in your luggage, you know. But I don't know. Maybe I'll get a few of them and see how it goes. But usually people have them or they buy them at the convention from the dealer room, and then they come over and have me sign them for them.
Oh yeah, usually are like if it would be an easier buck for you if you sign them beforehand and then you could sell them for the $100 that they go for online. Because she showed me, I'm like, I thought my stuff was expensive. Holy crap!
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really kind of crazy.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you too, because it's something because we're both in voiceover. I'm actually developing a show now that
Uh-huh.
an animation to do voiceover because I was like, I know it's hard to get in there, and I'm talk to guys like you and kind of get advice how to get my foot in the door. So I was like, well, I'll make a show and put myself in it, and the same as him because we both do voices and stuff,
Yeah,
and so
that's a
one thing I
great
want
way
to
to get
ask
going.
you. Oh yeah, so one thing I want to ask you, if you're that I always thought I wanted to do as a voice actor, because I do the voices too. Have you had like a kid or somebody in a store with a figure or something that has your character and you kind of just you're in your incognito because they don't know it's you and kind of done the voice and they turn around like, wait a minute, I didn't know this toy talked. Have you done anything like that?
I had a couple of instances where I was at actually had an audition at Fox Studio, and I was running a little late, and I they have these guys on bicycles that deliver the mail and all that. So I asked one of the guys, I said, "Hey, can you tell me where Building G is?" And he said, "Wait a minute, say that again." I said, "Can you tell me where Building G is?" He goes, "Are you Bateau?" I said, "Yeah, I am." So he recognized my voice. He goes, "Can you sign my?" I said, "Okay." So I signed something. I said, "Now, can you tell me where Building G is? I'm late." And then another time I was in a Costco and a guy was wearing a Bateau T-shirt, and I said, "Hey, I'm the voice of Bateau." And goes to the shell and he kind of gave me one of these like, "Yeah, right, buddy." And then I walked behind him and I said, "Major Kusanagi, Section 9," and he just like went, "Oh my God," he like flipped out. So that was kind of fun.
That is awesome. I
Uh,
know Jess Harnell has a horror story about that. I think it was like Six Flags, and some kid was like, he's like, "Oh, I like your Wacko shirt," and he was like, "I'm actually the guy," and he was like, "No, you're not." And he was like, "Yeah, look, my business card." He's like, "I had a picture of me and Wacko," and he's like, "Yeah, see, I'm the guy," and he was like, "Do the voice," and he did it, and the kid was like, "I can do it better than that."
well, I have I have a lot of people come up to me and try to impersonate my characters to me, which I think is kind of bizarre to tell you the truth, but they do it a lot. And in fact, I had one guy who interviewed me who on one of these shows, and he was basically they spent the entire time impersonating my characters to me, and I go, okay, it was kind of surreal and weird, but okay. But yeah, it happens. They I don't know. People get it in their head that this is really an easy way to make a living or something. I'm not really sure what it is, but I think a lot of people feel like they can do it, and perhaps they can. But there's a lot of people that really can't do it, but they feel like they can. They go, what's to it? You go in and you read a script. Well, it's a little more involved than
Oh
that.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
You have to
it's
create a
acting.
character. Yeah,
Yep.
you have to
oh
act. You
yeah.
have
Yeah,
to,
it's
you know,
acting in
it's
itself.
and some people, and some people have great voices and they say, people tell me I should do voiceover and all that, whatever. And I said, yeah, you do have a great voice. But the question is, can you read or can you act? And sometimes I'll get some of these guys in the booth and they'll just be terrible. It's just like, it sounds like they're reading a third grade primer or something. Or that, but it's like, no, you got to bring it to life. It's got to sound natural and real, like it's happening for the first time, and you got to really bring that to life. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Oh yeah, and can you talk about the experience that? Because I know, especially with video games, like I had somebody, I was watching a documentary, and they're like, "Yeah, a lot of people think they can just voice video games, but like, not only can you stay in this character, but like doing a video game, can you scream blood curdling screams for 4 hours straight without
Yeah,
ruining
yeah,
your vocal cords?" Can you
probably
share the
not.
experience about that, like how you prepare your voice, or if you're going in to do like a
Well,
screaming?
anytime I go in to do any voice work, I warm my voice up. You have to warm your voice up, and you've got to go through a lot of different, you go through different things that you do to warm your voice, your lips, your get your tongue working, get all that stuff warmed up, so you're not going to scream on a throat that's not ready. And the other thing is, you learn how to scream without hurting yourself. And one of the things you do is you don't clench your throat. which is the natural way to scream. Most people would, when they scream, they would clench their throat. So you have to scream with relaxing your throat. And also you have to drink a lot of water while you're in there. And also you need to use this stuff, which a lot of us voice actors use. I'll give it a plug. They should actually send me bottles of this. I plug this stuff all the time. But this stuff I found out by Fred Tatasciore, who does the voice of the Hulk, and he's always screaming his butt off. So he told me about this stuff. It's called Nin Giom Pi Pa Ko. Okay, Nim Giom Pi Pa Ko. I probably cocked that all up. But anyway, it's Chinese cough syrup, and it's made with, there's no narcotic or anything in it. It's just made with basically honey and lychee juice, lychee nut juice. And for some reason, it's got a good thickness and it coats your throat. So what you do is when you go in and you have to do what we call vocally stressful work, which is screaming, you take a little swig of it between each take, and it just coats your throat and protects your vocal cords. But the other thing is you have to make sure you don't clench your throat, because that's when people get nodes and that's when you can hurt yourself. So you have to know how to do this stuff and how to scream. And honestly, doing that kind of stuff is the most grueling and the toughest part of being a voice actor, is the screaming. You do a game like Call of Duty. So Call of Duty, you're basically just screaming the entire time. It's all just screaming because you're on the battlefield and bombs are going off and tanks are going by. So you're basically screaming. So it is 4 hours of literally screaming everything. So when you do that, you want to have a little bit of this stuff, and it just kind of coats your throat, and it works really well. But you still need to know how to scream without hurting yourself.
Yeah, I know. I think the late amazing Kevin Conroy said when he did the initial, you also need to think about when you do your auditions. When he initially did the Batman voice, he wasn't thinking about, oh, I'm going to have to do this for long term, as long as he did. And he was like, I had to figure out a way to do that same voice at the same level that I gave them in the audition without ruining my vocal cords. Have you ran into anything like that in your career?
Well, I think the older I get and the longer I've been in this business, I kind of realize that. And when you audition something, you want to make sure that it's something you can replicate and keep going for a long period of time without killing yourself. So, sometimes there are choices that you make, and it just depends. But that is a real concern.
Yeah, would you be a musician too? I know
Yeah.
Charlie Adler says that what he does is if he's going from Burbank to the 2 hour drive, I can't remember where he said the city he said, but the hour and a half drive into the studios, he sings an hour going in and then sings an hour going back home to kind of warm his voice up, doing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that too. I have some exercises that I do that I've been doing for years and years and years. And it's just things to get you warmed up and going, and you look ridiculous doing them. And sometimes I'll be driving down the street and I'll be doing it and people look at me like, what the fuck is that guy doing? I don't care, because it's my job. So
It's like Dee and Steve Bloom. Have you thought about putting some of the tips and stuff into like a book, or kind of giving some of your tips to people who are wanting to do, kind of so they know the preparation stuff?
yeah, that's not a bad idea. I rarely teach. Every once in a while, for this group called Strawberry Hill Music, they have me on every once in a while, and it's just hard to do for me because I'm so busy all of the time, to be honest with you. I know Steve Bloom does do some stuff where he gives tips, and I believe D. Bradley Baker also has a site that you can go on that he gives good tips to. And all that stuff's helpful and all of it's good, but you just have to really before you start auditioning for projects, you got to make sure you're competitive. And I think that's where a lot of people fall down, is they feel like they can do it, or they're ready, and they go in and they're not ready, and you're competing against these people that are pretty damn good. So You know, you have to remember that you want to be competitive when you go in, because if you suck on your audition, the casting people and the directors remember that, and they won't invite you back. But if you do a good job, and even if you're not right for that part, they may remember you for something else. So, you know, you want to make sure you put your best foot forward when you go in, and make sure that you're competitive. Now, what does that mean? Well, you know, at the very least, take some classes, you know, try to become the best actor you can be. Read out loud every day, because as I said earlier, we don't get to see these scripts till we go into the booth. So if you are not a great reader, a great sight reader, that's going to screw your whole thing up. So you want to be able to just read stuff and just bring it right off the page and make it come alive without even having to worry about it. So yeah, and you know, guys like us, you know, Bloom and D and I have been doing this for a long, long time. We're great at that stuff. We've been doing it a long time, and so for us, it's, you know, it's second nature. So, but for most people, it's not second nature. And even I've had to direct some celebrities and people that are, you know, pretty famous or well known or good actors that get in the booth and just suck, because it's a very different style of acting. It's not the same. So, you know, it's a different style, and you have to realize, because a lot of film actors, they're acting with their eyes. You know, they could be acting their ass off, but the microphone's not going to pick up your eyes. I don't care what you're doing with your eyes. You know what I mean? It's about your voice when you're in the booth. So it's a whole different thing, you know, basically.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about like regular actors. They go into the booth and they treat it like it's, you know, like it's a film set, so they're actually walking around a lot, and you know, like
Yeah.
their voice isn't, or you know, they're not at the microphone, so it's like all over the place as far
Yeah,
as the
those people are
echoes.
terrible.
Right.
I've had to direct a few of those. So what, you go in there, you take a nail and a hammer and you nail their feet down in front of the microphone, and then they can't move. Or these people that they'll clap, you know, during the thing. It's like, no, dude, everything you do and say in there, the mic picks up. You know, they just don't get it. It's a very different style of acting. You know, it's like, and here's the problem too. You got producers who want to, you know, they want to bring in the big stars because they have marquee value, which I can understand. You know, listen, that's how some projects get greenlit. But you bring in somebody who's never done this stuff before, and they're generally not very good at it. You know, it just because you're a dancer doesn't, you know, if you're a kabuki dancer doesn't mean you can do ballet, and vice versa. It's a very different style. So you know, it's, since I've done a lot of stuff, I've done stage, I've done film, I've done, you know, voice work. Uh, it, I always feel like I can help them no matter what their situation is. And if we get these film actors or TV actors in there that just don't realize what it is, then I have to kind of give them a little pep talk and kind of get them focused on doing more of a vocal thing, and explain to them that the mic's not getting all of their nuance through their eyes, because we're not filming it. You know, it's being recorded, and they'll sound really flat and terrible if you just take a real low key natural performance, depending on the project, of course. But you know, in general, I'm generalizing. If you do that, it's gonna be really lackluster and terrible when you animate to it. You know, so
Oh yeah, and a question I've always wondered, I know there's the ADR, but have you guys ever had a situation where they just couldn't get the you know the celebrity to do the character the way they want it? So what they did they have you ever had it where they keep the name because they did do a part of it, but bring somebody like you or you know or Rob to
yeah,
come in and replace the lines, but still use their name and try to give y'all a smaller credit or not credit
yep,
you at all? Have that ever happened?
yeah, it happens all the time. It happens all the time, and you know, it's just one of those things. Some of these actors just cannot do this stuff, and then some of them have really a hard time with like efforts and reactions and that sort of thing. So I've been hired on many different movies to come in and do like I was on Deadpool. I did Deadpool 1 and 2 and did a lot of the reactions and efforts for a lot of the characters on there, because whoever was voicing them couldn't do it. And you know, it's happened on a lot of shows. I've had to replace I replaced Lou Ferrigno's voice in Sinbad. I redid the whole movie and replaced his voice, which I know he wasn't too thrilled about, but you know, they hired me. I went and did the job. So take it up with them. But anyway, there's a lot of things that happen like that. And sometimes it happens because the actor can't do it, but sometimes it also happens because the actor's unavailable. And maybe the actor will have a line or two, but they're not available. Maybe they're shooting a movie in, East Bumfuck, and they can't get back in time to do, to do the line. So we go in and we do the line for them, and we do a sound match. And I've done a bunch of that stuff as well.
Oh yeah, like I've heard too that like for Toy Story, when they can't get Tom Hanks or they don't want to fly him in for the $6 million, they'll get his brother Jim Hanks to come in, and he literally does a spot on Tom, and they'll get him to do his lines because it's cheaper to get Jim than it is to fly Tom back in to do a retake of one line.
Yeah, there's a few of those guys that do that have their brothers do their lines for them, and they make good money doing it. They pay them well to do that, and that's a good way to keep it in the family, I guess. So.
Now, on the flip side of that, have you guys ever had, where basically like they didn't get the actor just couldn't do it at all, and they just replaced them completely with an actual voice actor instead of an on-camera person?
Yeah.
Has that happened? Have you seen that happen before too, where
happens.
they're like, you know what, we're just going to get the guys who know what they're doing?
Yeah. Well, that's what they should have done to begin with. So
Exactly.
Honestly, I think in many ways the voice actors are really, really terrific. And there's been some wonderful stars and like all the Pixar stuff. Those guys have been great. They do a wonderful job. But there's other shows that, honestly, do you think the kids give a crap if it's a big star doing the voice or not? They don't care. They see the character, they hear the voice. They don't care if it's whoever it is. I think sometimes it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. But it makes them feel better, I guess.
Oh yeah, and I know that's why a lot of the times when they get a series made from a movie, they'll bring in, guys like you guys come in and do, a retake of the character where it sounds like the actor, but like you said, the kids don't know the difference between, Will Smith and Kevin Michael Richardson, so they'll bring Kevin in to do the character that he did in the movie.
At least Kevin's not going to slap you in the face, so that's
Yes.
Kevin's a lovely guy. He's really a great guy.
So one thing I wanted to ask you too that I just thought about too that I always ask every person, because I know different people for different fames and different, I've talked to musicians, I've talked to voice actors, I've talked to different people, at the different famos. How was it for you, seeing these, like you said, you saw the thousands of people. How was that, impacting you, and like from like the mental health side of, being a well-known voice actor? How was that, for the mental health, the struggle of, that fame? How was that, what is your perspective of that?
I kind of got a little bit of that because you kept going in and out on me, but let me see if I understand the question. How does having fame from being a voice actor affect your mental health? Is that what you're asking me?
Or like just the, like the different level, like people knowing these characters, and like how has that impacted you? Like, just the seeing the impact that you've had on people's lives like that.
Oh, I think it's great. Like I say, if anything that I've done that people can appreciate and enjoy, if it's given them any relief from life, life is not always easy. And if there's something that I've been a part of that they've enjoyed and that has helped them get through the day, then I feel great about that. On the other hand, the one good thing about being a famous voice actor is that not that many people recognize you when you're out and about, when you're at a restaurant or whatever. So you don't get a lot of people who come up to you. Every once in a while I'll have somebody come up and ask me something, but most of the time, it's not like if you're Brad Pitt, you go into a restaurant, everybody recognizes you and bugs the crap out of you, so you can't even enjoy your meal. But we don't have that dilemma. So in a way, it's kind of a nice double-edged sword in that we're able to work and actually have notoriety and celebrity, but at the same time, we can keep our anonymity as well. So that's kind of nice.
Awesome. I'm just glad to hear that. Like I said, I know it's that superpower. I know that, like I said, you can tell I love Rob. Rob says has that thing too. You know, he talks about the same thing where they go into him and Maurice LaMarche can go into a restaurant and they can all have lunch, and then they'll see like somebody have a Pinky and the Brain shirt on, and they'll just turn that superpower on, and they go from quintessential nobody, you know, middle-aged white guys to, oh my God, you're the voices of my childhood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's true. And it's fun. You know, listen, it's fun when people get excited when they meet you. And, you know, we've had a few teary-eyed, people show up and they really get swept up by it. So it's really kind of nice. And it's nice that you can move people like that with your performance.
Oh yeah, and it's one reason I always tell people like I do this podcast. It's not just to, yes, I'd love to make money from it, but it's just, you know, getting to talk to, you know, the people that made and voiced the characters that I fell in love with, that, you know, got me through hard times, and, you know, I made me, enjoy the things that were made, you know, getting to talk to you guys and getting to know you and becoming friends with you guys, you know,
Oh, thanks.
that's why I love doing this, and, you know, that same thing.
Well, let me ask you guys, who of my characters that I voice, and I've done over 1,200, who are some of your favorites that I've done that you like?
I think mine's obvious.
You what?
I think mine's a little obvious. I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan, so
Oh, Mortal Kombat, yeah.
I love your take on Raiden. Hell, I love your take on Joker as well. You know, it's like I said, you have such a unique voice, and, you know, you were talking about how, you know, so many people said that you sounded like Mark. I don't think that you do at all. I think that you
Oh,
bring
thank
your
you.
own thing to the table, and I love
Thank
hearing it
you.
whenever you do it. And I agree with you. I'd love to hear that take on the Joker in a series or something one day.
Yeah,
It's
thank
great.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
same
I appreciate
here.
that. Yeah.
We're both huge Mortal Kombat. Like I said, I knew it from my older siblings because we're both in our late 20s. And you know, from our older siblings, but then he introduced me to Mortal Kombat. And so I fell in love with
Yeah.
Raiden, and we used to fight over who would be Raiden and who would get Scorpion. Because we love both of those. It's like, okay, I'll take Raiden this time, you take Scorpion, then we'll switch.
I'm a
That's funny.
Raiden and
That's
Noob
great.
Saibot guy myself. So
Which
That's
I don't know if you
awesome.
can see in the back with the lighting. It's near. If you want to adjust it, we actually he has the actually has Raiden on it over here. If you can see it with the
All I
lighting.
see is like a big white
yeah,
blur.
it was, I was having difficulties putting the screen up, so everything is just makeshift back here right now, and I just put like a big arcade one up for MK2
Okay.
back here. It's got Raiden on it, so and
All right.
you know for me
I'll
it's
believe you.
for me it's just really cool because, you know, you've been the definitive voice for Raiden for so long now, you know, since MK versus DC. Because, you know, even, you know, before then, if you heard Raiden in the games, like in story mode, a lot of times it was the developers just doing voices.
Yeah.
So then that one, you know, they started getting an actual voice cast, and
Yeah.
it's just cool to me that they've kept you for this long, and
Yeah.
definitely
Well,
looking
it's cool
forward
to me
more.
too.
Oh yeah.
I hope they continue to keep me. I would love to keep doing him.
I definitely
He's-
agree because I love your take on him.
Thank you. Raiden and Joker are two of my all-time favorite characters. They really are. So I love doing them, and I love working with those guys. They're NetherRealm is a great company. They're just I think they're every game. The animation and illustrations are just phenomenal. I mean, they look amazing. They just do a great job. You know. So I kind of wanted to just before I go, I want to just tell you a couple of my things that are coming up. So this weekend, which I'll be in Toronto, Canada, at Anime North, which is in Toronto, Canada. That'll be the 26th, 27th, and 28th of May. And then let's see, in June, we got something for every month practically. In June, the 16th through the 18th, I'll be at Anime Fest Orlando in Florida. So please come by and say hello. And let's see what else we got. Let's see, we get July, the 21st through the 23rd. I'll be in Connecticut at a convention called Connecticon. So that'll be the 21st through the 23rd of July. And then let's see, what is that? Then we're going to August. August 31st through September 3rd, I'll be at Sabaton Con in Phoenix, Arizona. And let's see, where else am I going? And then the 29th of September through October 1st, I'll be at TigerCon in Georgia. All right. So is there anything else you want to ask?
I'll let you go
You
first.
had a book as well. Did you want to? Do you have the title for the book yet, or did you want to hold off on plugging that as well?
Yeah, I'm going to hold off on plugging that. I just want to get that completely finished before I haven't, because as I told you, they stole my title from me.
Right. We need a new title now.
I have to come up with a new title, and honestly, that was like the perfect title for my book. So, it's going to be hard to come up with something else, but I'm going to have to. I have to percolate over it and see what I can come up with.
Yeah, just like I said, we got emails, so let me know when you have that. And like I said, I'll bring you back on and we'll promote that as well.
Awesome, that'd be great.
So the one last thing I want to ask you, so what is some, just some overall, I know you gave some advice earlier. What is the overall, advice you can give someone who's either looking to get into the industry or getting to doing, acting or voice acting or doing the directing side of voice acting? What is some advice you can give to them?
Well, the best advice I can give you is try to be the best actor you can be. And I would take some classes on voice acting with legitimate people. Be very careful who you take classes from. Make sure they're legitimate people that have actual credits and not some, Joe Schmo from Kokomo who's like trying to do some class and charge a ridiculous amount of money with no credits. There's some woman in Florida who charges like $5,000 to do her class, and she has 0 credits.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like don't study with this person. They're just ripping you off. Anyway, you got to check them out, see what they've done, and make sure they're legitimate. Number one. Then take some classes, and I would, if it were me, I would audition for plays. I would do some plays. I would do cold readings. I would do some radio plays. Read together with a group. I would do whatever I could to become a better actor. And then I would read out loud every day, particularly if that's a stumbling block for you. I would do that, and then I would, there's places you can find out. First of all, there's agents in every state of the union, so there's agents that do voiceover representation that you can find. You can always write to Screen Actors Guild in Hollywood and ask them for a list of voiceover agents. And then once you do your class, you want to put together a little demo. And demo should be no longer than a minute and a half at the most. There's 4 different kinds of demos. There's commercial copy, there's promo, there's trailer, and then there's what I do, which is animation. So each one of those, you don't want to go longer than a minute and a half. So get some different copy and read it, and get somebody to record them, put music to them, and edit them together so it sounds professional, and get it where you feel it's really good and competitive, and then start sending it out to some agents and see if they'll represent you. Once the agents like you, if they represent you, they'll start sending you auditions. Then you start reading for auditions, and hopefully you'll book some and you start working. And that's the way it works.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. We have enjoyed the laughs, the stories. It was awesome.
My pleasure.
So how was your experience with your first interview of a celebrity?
I liked it. Very insightful.
Good.
Yeah, he was nervous. I was like, dude, my show is so relaxed. I'm not like everybody else. I was like, and most people,
nervous.
as you can tell, most people are not assholes who I get. Like Richard is an amazing guy. You're awesome.
Well, you're a voice actor that I look up to, and mostly more than anything, I just wanted to take in information and your advice and all that as well. So,
oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, everyone. That's going to be another episode of the Phantom Squad podcast. Would you like to share our outro? We always say, enjoy the madness.
Enjoy the madness.